Welcome to Pack Talk Podcast, episode 115. Today we're talking about how to get your dog to pay attention to you, which is always a hot topic in the dog world or even the non-dog world, because if you're someone that has good attention from your dog and you're walking through an area where there's people that aren't even involved in dogs, you're definitely going to catch their attention, right? So it's definitely an impressive behavior to have from your dog. So today we're going to be talking about benefits of a dog that pays attention to you. We're going to be talking about any downsides there are to a dog that pays attention to you, which I can think of one at least. We're going to be talking about the fundamentals of how to teach your dog to pay attention to you, advanced techniques in attention building, putting your attention on cue or command if that's something that you want to do. We're also going to be answering the question, can you correct your dog for not paying attention? What are the thoughts on that? And close it out from there. So I've got Chris with me. So we're going to jump right in. Dude.
What's up, dude?
Dude. You know, Danny, he's got me saying dude a lot.
Dude.
So we'll start off with the benefits of a dog that pays attention to you. So some of the major benefits that I can think of, we've got a good recall. We got a good come command. If my dog learns to pay attention to me, it's going to want to come to me instead of me begging it or forcing it to come to me. That's just the first thing on my head, right? So when we first get our dog, whether it's a puppy or we've adopted a dog from somewhere, if I start off with attention building exercises, which we'll get into here in a minute, the fundamentals of attention building, that's already laying the foundation for me for a come command or a recall behavior. And that's also ensuring your dog's safety, right? Another benefit could be that your dog doesn't get distracted. So a lot of people, we take our dogs out on a walk. There's other dogs walking by. There's other people walking by. There's kids. There's whatever. Our dog gets distracted and sometimes becomes reactive, either due to a lack of self-control or they don't know how to interpret that distraction, something like that. If we have attention from our dog, it eliminates that, right? Because our dog might look at that distraction, which there's no problem with looking at it, but then your dog wants to pay attention to you, or your dog's default will be, if there's a distraction, pay attention to you, the handler, which is always a good thing because dogs that learn how to do that, they don't even develop the reactivity. They don't develop the distractibility that other dogs have that don't have the attention building. So that's why it's always one of the first things we do with any dog in training, any dog that we get as a puppy or an adult, doesn't matter. The focus is building up attention. Chris, what are your other thoughts on benefits of a dog that pays attention to you?
I mean, it's gonna increase overall. What this is doing is just increasing your value to your dog, right? That's ultimately when it boils down to. Distraction over here. I want that squirrel. I want that dog. I want whatever. Mm-hmm. My owner's more valuable than that thing over there, right? And so building these focus behaviors, making your dog want to pay attention to you, is overall increasing your value. There's nothing fancy to this. It's super easy. There's no reason not to start training with whatever. You get a puppy, you get an older dog. This is where you should start, is building your focus, building your value for your dog, because everything else will come so much easier, right? I mean, you can almost get a recall with these games that we play, these engagement games, without even doing a recall. You know what I'm saying? Like they just want to be around you. They desire to go after other things like distractions less because it's not valuable to them. And you're teaching them historically that there's not going to be any value to these other distractors, right? But there is going to be a ton of value when you pay attention to me, right? So it increases your value, which is also going to increase your bond with your dog. It will, I think, a lot, if not most, trainers are not doing this.
That's a problem.
Yeah.
That's a problem.
And it's, I mean, dude, it's so valuable for the bond between you and your dog and your relationship. This is where you should start everything. If everybody looks at like, oh, well, I have this issue. My dog's aggressive, reactive, whatever. It's like, dude, just forget all that. Go down to build your dog's focus on you. Start there. And then that's the foundation to build upon.
Right.
So super, super important.
And people that have multiple dogs, maybe those dogs develop into fighting as time goes on. If you would have done attention building at the beginning, you could have eliminated that behavior set.
Yeah.
So it literally is the foundation for everything that happens. The other benefit is that your dog wants to learn from you. If your dog learns to pay attention to you, they want to learn from you. So anything else you're going to teach your dog in life, obedience, dog sports, service dog, therapy dog, emotional support animal, all these different facets, because your dog has the foundation of paying attention to you, they want to learn from you. It makes all this other learning super easy for you and your dog, super fun for you and your dog.
Yeah.
Right? Something else too, like you already said, you and your dog bond on a whole new level. So you see dog owners out there, they're walking their dog. They love their dog.
Yeah.
Their dog does love them. But when they're on a walk, that dog's pulling on the leash. That's a pain in the ass.
Yeah.
Right? You're going to the chiropractor. You got those big dogs pulling you. That's going to cause some potential damages, right? I've been in physical therapy lately, and there's someone else that I was in physical therapy with. They had to go to physical therapy because their dog tweaked their wrist, right? So these kind of things happen when we let our dogs not learn to pay attention to us. You know, paying attention to us helps us do everything. And I think back to where we started Canine Revolution in that neighborhood. That one guy with the boonie hat with the big pitty.
Dude was dedicated.
With the big harness and the thick leash. You know, this dude would wrap this leash around his hand. He'd hold on for dear life. This pitty would be rah, 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 going crazy at anybody walking by, any dogs walking by.
Yeah.
This dude was dedicated. He's walking his dog every single day. He didn't care. But it's one of those things, if you would have taught that dog to pay attention to you,
right,
you could have alleviated all that trouble. Because literally every time someone or a dog walked by on the street, he would have to stop his walk, wrap this leash up, hold on with everything he's got.
Yeah.
This is a big, strong dog.
You'd see him from 100 yards
Right.
away, take this sigh.
Right.
Here we go.
Yeah.
You know, and he's kind of buckling up, just rides it out.
Right. Right. So these are all potential benefits of a dog that pays attention to you. I think the benefits are more than that, but those are like the big ones.
Yeah.
You know, having dogs that pay attention to me. Back in the day before I got involved with training, dogs that didn't pay attention to me, it's a huge difference. Huge difference. And all the people we work with at Canine Revolution Dog Training, they don't have dogs that pay attention to them.
Yeah.
Right? So we're teaching that dog to learn how to pay attention, and it just is a game changer.
Right. Well, and it's not necessarily as simple as what we're saying, right?
Right.
You know, we get dogs that are older dogs. I'm thinking of like some hound dogs that have come our way. That's like they just don't, you don't have any value to them. You know what I'm saying? And they've had years of not only self-reinforced behaviors, but genetics and stuff like that. You know what I mean? And it's hard to now I got this 2, 3, 4, 5-year-old dog,
Right.
and now I have to teach it to pay attention to me, and
Right.
and a lot of structure goes into that as well, right? To prevent them from paying attention to the other things that they may want to pay attention to,
Right.
So you have to, and I think that's a struggle for a lot of people because you lose interest. You're like, this
Right.
isn't fun. You know
Right.
what I mean? But like, you're gonna have to grind a little bit,
Right.
and then it'll get to the fun part once they make that switch where you are valuable.
Right. Especially the older the dog,
Yeah.
the more difficult it can be to build up some of these behaviors. It can still be done.
Sure.
That's what troubleshooting techniques are for. That's what you go through, different training techniques to help increase that attention in this case. But the older you let your dog get before you start working on this stuff, the more difficult it can be.
Yeah.
Depending on genetics, depending on the reinforcement history the dog has, you know.
Or the more intense the behavior that
Right.
is the opposite of the focus, right? The
Exactly.
reactive dog that's just gets
Right.
that guy holding that dog back. That was going on for years.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
So that's years working against you.
Right.
So building up attention in that case is not going to be something that happens quickly.
Right.
Like someone who just gets a puppy.
Yeah.
You can do that in a couple days. You can get
Right.
the attention locked on in a couple days. Someone like this guy who's got years and years and years of reactive behavior, you decide, hey, I'm taking action.
Right.
I'm going to get my dog's attention, which is a good decision to make. It's just not going to happen in a couple days.
No.
It's going to take more time.
Yeah.
You know. Next up, potential downsides to a dog paying attention to you. There's really only one that I can think of, is sometimes people, they get crazy about the attention building. So they manage their dog heavily. They have a strict structure, and the dog won't do anything other than pay attention to you. So there has to be a balance of letting your dog work away from you, teaching your dog how to work away from you, teaching your dog that it's okay to pay attention to things other than you sometimes, but also having a good level of attention building, a good level of attention on you. So it's one of those things, it's a balancing act. If you go too crazy with it, if you're too strict with it,
Yeah.
your dog will have a problem not learning to operate away from you or without you.
Yep.
So you have to balance it from day one, whether they're a puppy or an adult dog. You got to balance letting your dog explore the world around them, work independently of you, but also have attention on you, which can be a fine line.
Yeah. Yep.
What have you
I
seen
mean,
in that regard?
no, I would 100% agree. Like that's the big downside. I experienced that myself with Vader. But I would piggyback on that. It can potentially hinder their ability to kind of free think, right? Or
Right.
or if you want to,
Right.
if you're wanting to free shape some certain behaviors, you want them to think independently to try to figure out problems, become problem solvers, which has benefits, right? That was my struggle. I kind of hit a wall at a certain point with Vader, which Vader's issues, I'm sure everybody's heard. You know, he's super reactive, super aggressive with other dogs. So getting his focus on me, I went too intense. You know what I'm saying? Which was good. I mean, at the end of the day, this downside didn't outweigh the pros that I got out of it still.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? So
Right.
it was still worth it for me.
Right.
Because he would look at me, you know, if there was a dog near, boom, eye contact. That was solid. But now, just in normal life, we're trying to do things like maybe touch pads, send him away from me to go touch a pad, right?
Yeah.
That became super difficult because he would literally just stare at me. You know what I mean? He's just like, staring at you gets the rewards, you know, so at some point some random rewards come and I'll just sit here and wait you out. And I mean, I did the waiting game. I'm like, I'll just free shape it. I'll just wait until he figures it out. That dude would just freaking lock onto the eye contact, almost creepy. You know what I'm saying? So I went too far where I didn't have him moving away from me at all to even access the rewards. Like you can do that to have him go away, then come back for the rewards. It was all just come to me, look at me. He couldn't do anything else. Like when I wanted him to think outside the box of just basic obedience, it was super difficult for me. So that definitely, I put myself in that box for sure.
Yeah, I did the same thing with Bane, which his problem was reactivity towards people mainly, but he would also react to dogs. But once because originally I trained him improperly through aversion training and pressure style training, going with the wrong trainer. And then I learned what we do now, right? And so I converted him to our system now. And in that conversion, the fundamental part of that is attention building. So built up his attention, and I got it like crack, where his attention, where I was like crack cocaine to him. He like won't stop looking at me, won't operate without me. So then I started realizing that was a potential problem, because the dude wouldn't even leave my side, period. We go out into a yard. I'm like, okay, go play or something. This dude would be hanging out right next to me. You know, any type of separation would start to build some type of anxiety with him. I'm like, okay, this is a problem. So then I started the development of operating by yourself, operating away from me, going away from me for reward, right? So we did the touch pads where you're walking away from me, spots where you're walking away from me. We did retrieval, going to pick up items away from me. That's how you get your reward. So that did help him build a healthy balance of operating away from me and operating with me. I didn't really struggle with what you were talking about with Vader, where he was like locked on. Like Bane did do that when we first started the operation away from me, but I put some extra steps in there to help him, and he was able to cognitively get there. You know, obviously him and Vader are two different dogs, but
Bane's got a little more intelligence, I would say.
He's a Doberman. But so like he finally made that shift, and we were able to make that work. But it did take a lot of troubleshooting from me. Did take a lot of just trying out different things to get him to that point. Then my other dog, Georgia, she was originally trained to be a perimeter guard dog for a client, and so I had to have her operating away from me. So like with her, the balance was bringing her back, because I did start her training with attention building, and then I went to operating away from me independently, right? Which she has good genetics for that anyway. And so anyway, the short story with her is she went to the clients. They had her for 3 years, and they were like, hey, we don't need her anymore. So then I got her back. So, but now with her, I can call her into attention, and then if I tell her that, hey, no need to pay attention to me right now, she will go operate independently, 100% no factor. So just like different kinds of dogs. But I was training Georgia when she was a puppy. That was when Bane was like 2 years old, so I'd already started learning the new way of, like the actual way of training. It wasn't the old school pressure aversion training. So with her, I was able to start off square one the right way, whereas Bane, I was trying to work backwards from all the aversive and the pressure training that I had done, rebuilding that, and then building back into the balance of operating away from me and independently. You know what I'm saying? So But even to this day, Bane will be more of a check-in dog, right? He will go off and do stuff, but he's always coming back to check in.
Yeah.
Always coming back to let me know he's paying attention, which I think is healthy. You know, Georgia's not much of a check-in.
Yeah.
She's more of a
call me if you need me.
Right, independent operator. So just kind of two differences with the dogs there. But
as you were talking about Bane's story, it reminded me of another issue I ran into with a dog with that super high focus. I was having potty training issues with that dog. Like that dog would not go, like it was just so locked in. It'd go out into like our potty area and it would just be waiting for engagement, right? So focused on me. But then one of our training assistants would take it to the potty loop, boom, and do its business. But it's like I had trouble releasing that dog away from me to go do its thing. You know what I mean? It couldn't dissociate. It was just so focused.
I've had that problem with some training dogs, and you gotta, as the trainer, you're realizing this, and you're like, oh shit, I gotta balance this out more.
Right.
And one of the things we do now is context is cue for the dog. So in the context of going potty, zero attention building, zero engagement.
That's not where we play the game.
Right. The dog has to understand the context of this is where we go to the bathroom, this is how we go to the bathroom, the way you hold the leash, the way you walk, what you say. Yeah. All those contexts matter. And then whenever you switch over to your attention building drills and your attention building games, the dog shifts gears. Right. So that's a part of the balancing act too. But your next topic here, fundamentals of teaching a dog to pay attention, those are going to be primarily our engagement drills. So to keep it simple for everyone that's working on this, there's two main drills you're going to do. First of all, you're going to take your dog out to a area that contextually you're building up as an attention building area when you're first starting this out for your fundamentals. And you're going to do one of two things. First of all, you've got your dog on the leash. That way they can't blow you off as you're building this up. So you got your dog on the leash. If your dog volunteers eye contact to you, you're going to mark that behavior with the word yes. The word yes is going to be a terminal release marker. So you say yes, you back up, you have food in your hand, you bring your hand about to your dog's shoulder level, and let your dog take the food from your hand. What that does is that is going to instigate your dog's prey drive and their food drive. So you're using two drives in this case to increase your dog's motivation rapidly. Also, movement is motivating. Motion is lotion, right? So it's good for your dog to move. It's also motivating for your dog to move, right? So the more you're moving, the more motivational your dog can be. But you're seeing spikes in your dog's energy level. So that's good to increase this motivation rapidly. The second thing you're going to do is when your dog is giving you eye contact, instead of saying yes and backing up with the food, you simply say good and you hand your dog the food low key. So you still have the food in your hand. You say good, you just hand your dog the food to their nose. They eat it low key. Nothing crazy going on, okay? So good is our duration marker, where we're building duration in behaviors, basically keeping them calm. Yes is where we're increasing motivation rapidly. We're using food drive and prey drive, so two drives activated. Now, when you're doing this, depending on the dog you have, depends on which one you're going to do more of. So if you have what we call an active dog, where they're super wiggly, super movie, super hyperactive, they want to move around, you want to lean more towards the calm side. So good, reward, calmly, right? That's for your active dog, because if you're doing a lot of yes, prey drive, food drive, instigation, you're only going to increase your dog's energy level, increase your dog's activity. So you want to keep them in a calmer state of mind in general. With your dog that is less active, maybe they're kind of slow, sluggish, whatever, you do want to get them moving more. So you use more yes, back up, give them the food, versus good, where you're just handing them the food calmly so that you can increase their motivation some more. So those are your fundamental engagement drills to increase your dog's attention on you. And the key is your dog is looking at you themselves. We ideally not say their name or anything to instigate them to look at you. We want to free shape this. They look, they realize that this is what instigates that reward. What's your other feedback?
That's the good foundation right there. That's the basics, I would say sometimes you do have to learn how to calibrate, there are times where like that slow moving dog, if I move too fast, it freaks them out. So I might have to start really slow and then slowly, like my goal is to get them moving faster because they're that naturally slow moving dog, or that dog that's super all over the place, bouncing all over the place, right?
Mm-hmm.
The issues we run into, we got chickens, we got guineas, they're looking at, they're like, oh, I want to chase that.
Right.
I might need to move fast a little bit to
Mm-hmm.
get them to be like, oh, Chris is a little more interesting than that
Mhm.
chicken over there.
Right.
Now I'm moving fast, and then as I got their attention, now I might slow them down a little bit, you know what I'm
Right,
saying,
right,
just to
for
do
sure.
what's best for that individual dog.
Yeah, that's where experience comes in,
Right.
working with lots of dogs, doing all these things,
Sure.
troubleshooting. You can get advice from a trainer that's
Yeah.
in your area doing this kind of stuff if you need help looking at it.
But most dogs you can get to this point. You know what
Right,
I'm saying? It's
definitely.
a very rare situation where you can't get it, especially if we're not talking board and train. We're talking your personal dog at
Right,
home.
right.
I would say most dogs are going to get to this point. So that's
Mhm.
where I think, like, let's say you got that slow moving dog. You start, yes, you're moving around, and that dog's not engaging with you.
Mhm.
A lot of people have a tendency to be like, well, this doesn't work for my dog. All right, let's make them do something or whatever.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So that's where definitely, reaching out to a good trainer or whatever can help you troubleshoot that area, because most dogs can do this
Yeah.
for sure.
And we did do a podcast on what to do if your dog won't take food from you, so you can go back, review that if you need some troubleshooting steps on getting your dog to start taking food. Because there are dogs, maybe you adopt one from a local shelter or a local rescue, and they're struggling to have food drive with you. They're struggling to take food from you. That's usually an insecurity thing or a nervousness thing, but there are troubleshooting steps you can take to increase that, and that's the primary goal, at least for us when we're starting training with a dog like that, figuring out, instigating this dog's food drive. Once we have the food drive resolved, now we focus on engagement, attention building, and then once that's done, then we proceed from there in our overall training progression. But for the sake of this conversation, talking about attention building, those are the two things you're going to be doing. Now, as you're doing these fundamental drills, you're going to notice your dog's eye contact longer on you.
Mhm.
At first, it might just be a glance towards you, but you're going to notice them looking at you longer, paying attention to you more. Once you notice that, you want to build duration in that. You make them hold it for a couple seconds, say good, then you reward them. So you're always going to be increasing your criteria for that eye contact. It's not going to be as simple as just glance at me, then you get the reward, right? And the other thing too, between your repetitions here, let's say you've got your dog out in your training area, you say yes, you deliver a reward to them, right? They're chasing you for that reward. As soon as that repetition is over, take a couple steps to one side or the other, and then do your next repetition. Your dog looks at you, you say good, you reward them, then you take a couple steps in another direction. And what this is doing is it's basically resetting you and your dog. If you stand in the same spot and you just do this over and over and over, your dog might get really good contextually at that one scenario. So moving as you do this side to side, back and forth, different areas of your yard or your training area is going to change up the context and help you with generalization of this later, which is an advanced technique in attention building, but most people are going to want that.
Yeah.
The next topic, advanced techniques in attention building. We got some key drills here, basically 3 drills, okay? So let's say you got your fundamentals done. Your dog understands, they look at you, they get a reward. It could be that chasing you reward. It could be just rewarding them in place with that duration marker, good. So with that being said, once you have this done, you should be building up your obedience, and your obedience is what you're going to do for your more advanced techniques. So the first one's going to be your downstay eye contact drill, which is a staple in all dog training. It should be a staple. You put your dog in a downstay, you're moving around your dog in vicinity of your dog, and what you want to do is see your dog maintaining eye contact with you as you're moving around. If your dog maintains their eye contact, you say good, you walk up, you give them a food reward to their right below their nose to their mouth, just like you've been doing, but now they're in a downstay. Now you're moving around, you're looking for them to be laser focused on you as you're walking around. So you're going to keep doing that, building that up. The other thing you're going to do, you got them in a downstay. They're paying attention to you as you move around. You can say yes. When you say yes, that means that your dog is allowed to get up and start running towards you, and you just back up and let them have food out of your hand like you did before, but now they're in a downstay, okay? The reason why you're going to mark yes sometimes is, again, to increase that motivation for you, increase those drives very rapidly, which those spikes in attention, spikes in motivation, that's going to help you long term, right? Because you're firmly building this attention span in your dog's behavior sets, right? It gets crazy, insane how much they'll pay attention to you, okay? So the downstay eye contact drill is one of your advanced techniques. You would do that in your training area, on your daily walks. You would take a walk in your neighborhood, Do it randomly throughout your neighborhood. Okay, community center, front yard, wherever you go, downstay eye contact drill. Thoughts on the downstay?
I mean,
eye contact drill?
like anything else we've ever talked about, like it ain't going to be that easy, right?
Right.
Sometimes
right.
your dog might look at other things and then they're going to check back in with you. Boom, reward it. You know what I mean? So like have realistic expectations, I think, with any behavior. I think a lot of, again, people have the tendency to get frustrated because things aren't moving as fast as they would like or whatever, or they're pushing it too fast. All right, we did one in the driveway. Let's go to the community center, right? So, I mean, really build this up. And, I mean, I was doing this with Vader when I was building this up. Like, this was his meals, right? So this was, like, good for me because I'm like, I didn't forget to do those sessions. I'm at least getting 2 sessions a day with the full bowl of food.
Right.
And I'm in the driveway. Downstay, I'm moving around. He's looking at other things. I got a handful of food. Bam, he looks at me. Boom, I pay him. And over time, like that paid dividends. And I mean, I'm doing hours and hours and hours of this stuff all put together. You know what I'm saying? And eventually, when he was in a stressful situation, boom, he'd lock in on me. You know what I'm saying? But that it started there, and I definitely got frustrated many times. You
did.
He ain't looking at me.
Now, I remember doing this with Bane, and the main reason why I was doing this with Bane is because if he would be out and about, people are like looking at him. He'd look at them. He'd get upset that they're looking at him. He'd react at them. So what this did for him was the downstay eye contact drill taught him that if there's something in the environment that he's uncomfortable with or doesn't like, just look at me.
Yeah.
That became his default behavior. Just look at me.
Yeah.
Look at me. Look at me. Boom. Then the reaction stopped.
You get to a point where it's like, I know my dog's stressed because of how I'm like, dude, he's looking at me hardcore right now. He must be stressed about something. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, there's many distractions.
Especially with Vader.
There's so many distraction sessions we do where it's like heavy dog all around us. We'd be at like, downtown. He's at a downstate. His eyes would be, I'm like, okay, dude, stress. But he's locked in on me, not looking at the dogs or nothing. You know what I mean? That was where like, he was definitely at that point where he was like too much onto the eye contact. But hey, solved our issues. So.
Right. The next advanced drill that you're going to do is your healing eye contact drill. So we always do the downstay drill first because it's easier to do it when you're not in motion. But now healing, you're in motion. So this is when your dog's on your left side walking with a loose leash. You're rewarding them for looking at you. So as you walk, your dog looks up at you, giving you eye contact. And when I say eye contact, I mean not looking at your stomach, not looking at your hand, looking at your face, right? So your dog looks at your face, gives you that eye contact. Again, you say good, you reward them, but now you're walking, so you're rewarding them down your left side, right? You're just delivering food to them as you keep walking, okay? The other way you can do it, as we've been discussing, you say yes, but when you say yes, now you have to move rapidly. You can either start moving forward rapidly and deliver food at your dog's shoulder level for them to chase your hand and take food from your hand, or you can back up. Again, bring your hand to your dog's shoulder level with the food in it. Let your dog chase your hand and get the food out of your hand. Those are the 2 ways you're going to primarily do that. But the fundamental here is of the advanced drill, you're walking, your dog's giving you eye contact as you're walking. So this is taking your eye contact to a new level while you're in motion and you're doing another behavior, which is that healing on your left side, paying attention to you. This is critical. I mean, I remember vividly one time I was in a park with Bane. It was a huge open field. Nobody else was around. There's like a wood line around the edge of the park. Me and him are playing tug. We're hanging out. All of a sudden, 3 big labs come running out the woods right at us, and they're pretty far away, so I can see them coming. I'm like, here we go. So I'm like, okay, Bane, heel. So I call him in to heel. I start walking. Okay? No owners in sight. These dogs just come out of nowhere. We start walking. Boom, this dude just locks onto me. Because we've been doing the healing eye contact drill, right? This is when we were still building it up. And in my head, I'm like, I'm just going to walk in a straight line. Hopefully these dogs get bored and just walk away because there are 3 of them. They're big boys. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So I start walking. These dogs, boom, they get right up to us. They're sniffing Bane all over. This Bane will not look away from me. He's locked on. I'm just walking. I'm just like, holy shit.
Yeah.
And I'm like waiting for Bane to react at them. Yeah. And I'm like, who knows what's going to happen. But because he was looking at me, these dogs just sniffed him. They sniffed me. Me and Bane gave them no attention. So these dogs are like, nothing exciting here.
Yeah,
move on. Walk off. They walked
back
off
into the forest.
Disappeared back in the woods. They all had collars on, so someone owned them.
Yeah.
I was like, holy shit, dude. And then me and Bane just started playing tug again.
Yeah.
You know? So that's one of those cases where I've literally seen the healing eye contact drill come into play real world with my own dog. I've also done it with a ton of training dogs, and it does pay off. It does pay off.
Yeah.
What's your thoughts on that drill?
No, it's good. I think this is just me personally. I struggle more with that one. Definitely.
Really?
Like just in training, teaching. Like, I mean, Vader was pretty good at it. Like it just naturally, because he got to the point where, hey, I'm stressed. There's a dog. Boom. I look. So if we're walking, there's dogs. He almost kind of, it just naturally kind of came into fruition. But I mean, I do this. I mess around with it with training dogs. I'm doing it obviously with Rampage, my new pup. But I mean, you got to think for the dog too. It's not a natural thing. You're essentially looking up and walking, right? And so you try doing that. That's weird, right? So like a lot of times you find especially when you're rewarding that eye contact, you give them that reward, they might immediately break that eye contact to look. Hey, where are we walking, right? So that tells me right there, like they're not 100% on that focus. You know what I mean? So you might have to. What has helped me was doing it, taking away the movement side of things, right? Maybe doing it in a sit, right? So instead of down, stay eye contact, I'm doing like a sit, stay eye contact, doing it on some touch pads, stationary. Like if I can get them, their front paws on a touch pad, I can start to move around them. So I'm starting to incorporate some movement while they're still staying locked on, or I'm heavy on the rewards. Like I might have multiple rewards, you know what I mean, to keep that focus just getting. That's been my struggle, is like the dogs, they always want to kind of check down, especially if you're talking like, hey, I want to build a focused heel, like a legit, they stay
like a
on
sport
me.
Dog focused heel.
Right.
Yeah.
That can be a challenging thing.
For sure.
But you necessarily don't need to go that intense, you know what I mean?
Most people don't.
Most people don't, you know what I mean? Like as long as your dog's walking, like the phase I'm at right now with Rampage, he's in a good heel position, he takes in the environment. Boom, he checks right in with me. He's looking up, looking at me. Bam, I'll pay him. He might keep the focus sometimes. I'll keep paying him, and sometimes he checks back out, looks at the environment. But I want that dog to overall be focused on me, right? More so than the environment. But it's fine if they check in.
That's where the value of a experienced trainer comes in, because there are going to be a lot of troubleshooting steps that might need to be taken, like what you're describing. Yeah, it might not be as easy as what I'm saying. Sometimes it will be. Sometimes it won't be. So that's where you need an experienced trainer to help you look at what's going on and provide some troubleshooting steps. That could be what you're saying, using stationary movements first, using touch pads. It could be adjusting your reinforcement schedule. So I'll go ahead and mention that you've got 3 basic reinforcement schedules. So far we've been talking about continuous reinforcement, which is rewarding every single repetition, but you don't want to do that forever. You want to move away from rewarding every repetition and still maintaining that behavior. So a trainer can help you troubleshoot that, look at that, right, and make adjustments as you go. For me specifically, I did do a formal sport style heel with Bane many years ago. I haven't done it in a long time. You know, we could build that back up if we wanted to. We just don't really care about doing that at this point in his life. But for that, I had to add in a lot of troubleshooting steps to help maintain his behavior. I had to use some negative reinforcement at times, which we'll talk about here soon. I did have to add in remote rewards, because he would begin to anticipate where the rewards were coming from. He would anticipate how they're being delivered to him. And so he would hold that attention, and then because of his anticipation, as soon as I marked him, even if it was with a good duration maintained behavior, he would already adjust where he's at. He would adjust his body depending on his body positioning, depending on the anticipation. So I shifted to remote rewards, where the remote rewards are away from us. So there's a lot of things you can do. So if you're training a dog for a sport, that becomes more important. But if you're just a pet dog owner and you're just hanging out with your dog and you want attention from your dog, you don't have to go that intense. But you still want the ability to have attention while you're walking. Very important. Because this is like simulating your daily walk, right, in your neighborhood. You don't want your dog reacting at other dogs. You don't want it reacting at people. So they start paying attention to you while you're walking. That's when you don't have those concerns anymore. Right? Or your dog's making good decisions. The next advanced technique in attention building would be your distraction eye contact drills, or generalization of your eye contact. So we've already talked about generalizing it in your neighborhood, at your community center, in different places. But I'm talking about going out into town, going to a local park, going to a local hardware store like Lowe's, Home Depot, Tractor Supply, Ace Hardware, these types of things, going to restaurants, going to shopping areas, going to the beach. So you got to get creative. But the more places you can go, the more places that you can go and practice these drills, the downstay eye contact drill and the heeling eye contact drill, you're generalizing those, your eye contact becomes stronger, right? Your attention becomes stronger, and you start seeing your bond really go to another level. But again, you've got to balance. Don't get it too crazy.
Yeah.
Still let your dog explore and work away from you in some of these situations. But that's going to be your third advanced technique drill. And it's just simply going somewhere and doing your downstay and your heeling eye contact drills in a new location. And you might see like your dog was perfect at your house in your neighborhood. As soon as you go to Lowe's or Home Depot, they can't do it.
Yep.
So now you're troubleshooting. You're figuring out what can I do to help increase this in this particular place.
Yeah.
Any feedback on that one?
Yeah. I personally struggle with this one, especially just the way life is now. You know what I mean? I think everybody's busy. You know, everybody's got a lot going on. We live out in the country. We're a little bit further away from the town, you know what I mean? So like to do this, and I mean y'all can go on our YouTube and check out some of the different videos that I've done with Rampage, and you can see the engagement sessions on the property versus some of the engagement that we do. I think one of them was at the farmers market where we did a little bit of tug and a little bit of food engagement. And you can compare them and see the difference. Like he's not as focused at that farmers market, and we just don't do it a lot. You know what I mean? Just because life gets in the way. So that one's hard. You got to be very intentional about it, and it's important. So you got to make the time to do it. I know with Fader, when I was at that point where I'm like I had it locked in the driveway, and then I went to Home Depot. Right, and it wasn't locked in. Yeah. I'm like, oop! Now I shifted what I was doing.
Yeah.
In those days, Home Depot was on the way to work, so I left a little early. I go to Home Depot for breakfast. On the way back home at the end of the day, I go to Home Depot again, and so like I just kept building it up there. Once we locked down Home Depot, everything else became a little bitty. Like he kind of made the mental switch, and then we could go to different places, and it applied, and it was good. But definitely had to be super intentional.
Yeah, I think this also applies to what somebody's individual goals are with their dog.
Sure.
You know?
Yeah.
Definitely, for me personally, I'm not the kind of person that goes out on my personal time and spends a lot of time out in the town.
Yeah.
Like I'm more of like a guy that stays at my place.
Right.
There are a lot of people that are about that town life. You know, they got the apartment in a downtown area. They love walking the streets. They love walking the markets with their dog. That this distraction eye contact is going to be more important for them than it's going to be for me personally. Right. But also healthy to do. So like you said, maybe. But
that doesn't mean you don't need it, right? Or like when you need your dog's focus, you need your dog's focus, right? So like you still got to be able to, like, even though you might not find yourself in those situations, you're going to find yourself in a situation at some point, right? So it's like if you've done none of it, you're going to be, I'm a little bit, we're out of our element here.
Right.
I don't know what to do here. We're gonna have to do some troubleshooting. So you do enough to where it's like I could walk through a farmer's market with, you could walk through a farmer's market with your dogs and get through it and be fine.
Yeah, I think it's healthy for most people, even if you're more of a homebody, for example. Still, get some of that in.
Yeah.
Get some of that in. You know, it's not like critical, but get it in. It'll help you.
Yeah.
It'll help you with everything else.
Yep.
Right? Going to our next topic, that's going to be putting your attention on cue or command. And what this means is you say a word, and your dog knows to look at you when they hear that word, right? So up to this point, most of our attention building has just been typically free shaping. Your dog's giving you attention, you're building that up through rewards, and then what happens is your dog just starts looking at you naturally. But what if you want that cue, that look behavior, that paying attention behavior on a specific command, right? The command that we've used in the past is the word look. So you would say look, your dog, boom, knows to lock onto you at that point and knows not to look away from you. So you've taken all the work you've done up to this point, and now you're just putting a command on top of that. And we're going to do that through basic classical conditioning. How you would do that, you would set up the context that you've already achieved, like let's say downstay eye contact drill in your backyard. You go out to your backyard before you start that drill, before your dog starts giving you that high attention, you just say look. Boom, now your dog looks. Now you're rewarding as you have before. And what happens is through repetition, your dog understands that when they hear that word, that means to look at you. So you would do that for your downstay eye contact. You would do that for your heeling eye contact drills. And then over time, through repetition, your dog knows to look at you, okay? And then we'll go into our next topic here in a second, which is what happens if they don't do that? What happens if they don't look at you? But before we do that, Is there any other feedback on a look command specifically? What have you seen in the past? What have you done?
That's what I do. I do look. I mean, I don't go super crazy on the eye contact. Like, I just don't have a need for it, especially now. I was probably harder on Vader with a look command than I am now with Rampage. With Rampage, I'm more in the lines of like, hey, hold this heel position. That's your expectation. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I do want eye contact. I'm fostering the eye contact. I'm rewarding it. It's just not like something I'm attacking every single day like I did with Vader.
Yeah.
Vader was an expectation, hardcore for him.
Right.
Because one of his big issues that would lead to the aggressive behaviors was looking at dogs, right? Like same thing like you were talking about with Bane would look at a person's looking at him, right? Dog would be looking or maybe even reacting at Vader, and that's like it just puts him in a not a good mindset. You know what I mean?
Right.
And it did even get to a point where even corrections were not going to solve the issue once he went to a certain point in that mindset, and so putting it on command was very valuable for me. To where he gives me eye contact, Vader, look, boom, he's looking at me. I see the dog, he's aware of the dog, I can tell he's aware of it. Look, bam, he looks away from the dog, right on me. That was very valuable for me. Not so much right now with Rampage.
Yeah, there are dogs out there that even you do all your eye contact stuff, there are distractions that are so distracting.
Yeah.
Where it'll pull them away from that eye contact, that attention span. So that's where this becomes valuable in corrections, which we'll talk about in a second. But dogs that have a history of reacting, a history of reacting at people or dogs or kids or other things, this will become more important, like you said. And, the thing about it is dogs start looking at something. They begin to do what we call hyper-focusing. They start staring. We notice subtle changes in their body language because dogs communicate through body language. They don't communicate verbally. So we're looking at this dog that's staring at another dog. We see their ears change position. Typically, the ears would go forward. We see a little bit of wrinkling on the forehead. Maybe they're licking their lips. Maybe they were panting, but they stopped panting. They closed their mouth. Their tail maybe gets rigid. Their body gets rigid. All of these are indicators that we're hyper-focusing on something. And when we hyper-focus is when we're going to potentially react based on our history with the dog. So in that case, that look command becomes important because as soon as we notice our dog paying a little too much attention to something that they have a history of reacting at or a history of hyper-focusing at, we can say that command look, and now we can pull them out of that mindset and get them into a healthier mindset, which is just paying attention to us. Yeah. We do that enough times, that's when we really start seeing our dog make the decision. They see something that they're distracted by, they just look at us on their own, right? Because we've classically conditioned that. I did do look commands with my own dogs back when I was doing lots of different advanced obedience and sport style obedience. If you're in a dog sport, you are going to have a command where your dog does look at you on a specific cue or command. But for most pet owners, not necessarily have to be done. Yeah. Right? But it is an option out there, something you can look into. The next topic, can you correct your dog for not paying attention? Can you correct your dog for not paying attention? And the answer depends. Have you done your full training progression? Everything that we're doing has to be fair to the dog. So we do have our training progression on a previous podcast you can go listen to. Eye contact, the attention building is a portion of that. But you also have to do a lot of other things before you can do corrections fairly. You've got to do your obedience building. You've got to teach your dog about corrections with the leash. You got to teach your dog about corrections with the remote collar. You have to do remote collar conditioning. A lot of trainers out in the world today, unfortunately, they use the remote collar improperly. They just put it on dogs. They start using it. They're not doing a real remote collar conditioning process, and that's where dogs get confused in how to operate. They get confused at the communication inputs they're getting from the remote collar. And there are dogs that we train, we do conditioning with. We take them out to a distraction area, and we can tell that there's still some unclear communication about the remote collar. So what do? We take a step back. We go back, we revisit that conditioning. We revisit some weak points in that dog's conditioning to help that dog get better about understanding their communication and the remote collar. But the short answer is, yes, you can correct your dog for not paying attention, but you've got to make sure that it's fair. You've got to make sure you've done your training progression properly to make sure those corrections are fair, right? So let's say we've done that. we're out in a distracting area and my dog's looking at something like we've already talked about, hyper-focusing on something, that's when I could say no. I could tug on the leash. I could say no. I could give a correction on the remote collar or communication on the remote collar. When my dog feels that, then they would look at me, then I would reward them, right? So that's the quick and easy of that. Obviously, there's going to be troubleshooting in there. There's going to be other techniques that are needed based on your dog, but that's the quick and easy of how you do that. So you've got to make sure you've gone through everything up to this point and more to make sure that corrections are fair for your dog, but they can be super valuable, right? You can use corrections two ways. You can give a positive punishment correction, which is we're talking in operant terms right now. Positive punishment correction is just like a quick bump on the remote collar or a quick tug and release on the leash. Snap your dog out of that mindset, get him back to paying attention to you. You can also use negative reinforcement, which is applying something that the dog not necessarily comfortable with. So that would be tension on the leash. You pull the leash tight on your training collar. The dog looks at you, you release that tension, then you reward them, right? Something like that. So those are going to be primarily the two ways that you're correcting for not paying attention, and two can be super valuable. Both of those correction styles can be super valuable and help you enhance your dog's attention and eye contact on you. What do you got? What are your inputs on that one? Your thoughts?
I mean, I've done both. Like I said, Vader, I had it definitely on cue, and I could correct him if he looked away, and he understood it very, very well. Rampage is like still, we're still working through it, but I also am not as intentional as I was with Vader because it's not as big of a deal with me.
Right.
To me, I would say that this is more of an advanced behavior, right? So I think I would we're just talking pet dogs at this point, pet dog owners. I'm going to be focusing on those black and white expectations of obedience first. You know what I'm saying? Making sure you can hold your dog accountable to a sit, a down, a heel, a stay, a recall command, a come command, right?
Right.
That should be your priority. I'm probably not going I'm probably going to take the same approach I do. Like, hey, we can chip away at that, but I wouldn't like hardcore go into correcting your dog for not looking at you, at least in that beginning phase. I mean, the timing of it, there's a lot that could go wrong, right? You could create a superstitious association if you're like, hey, my obedience is good to go. My dog is giving me some focus. Now I'm going to walk in the neighborhood. My dog looks at a dog, and I'm going to give him that correction. If your dog doesn't fully understand what's going on here or exactly what you're wanting that dog to do, you're correcting them for looking at the dog. They can make the association of that correction to the dog. It could build frustration. It could it could go in the whole opposite direction of where you're wanting to go. Right. You know what I'm saying? So it could be more beneficial to just, hey, you give me the focus, you get the reward. Now, if you break heel position, right? I did this with Vader, but when we were working this out, because I couldn't from day one just correct him for looking at a dog. It wasn't like, hey, choose to look where you want. Right. You look at me, you get rewarded. Right. You look at a dog, you're not going to get anything. Right. But you break the heel position, you're going to get corrected. Like those are the expectations I'm holding to, and then I'm slowly building up the eye contact thing on the side, making that stronger and stronger. Right. It's just you got to be very careful. I think you got to know what you're doing. Maybe probably would recommend teaming up with a professional trainer that understands timing of corrections and the intricacies of a communication system when you're talking about this type of behavior. Right,
for sure. Yeah, definitely. Again, you got to go through a training progression, an appropriate one. Yeah. And you got to make sure that your dog clearly understands your communication because like Chris said, this can go bad. Yeah. It can bite you in the ass if you're doing it the wrong way. Yeah. If you're a sport dog person, if you're doing sports, you are going to be doing this. Yeah. You are going to be using negative reinforcement to increase your dog's level of eye contact and attention on you for your specific sport behaviors. But for most pet dogs, you won't need this. Yeah. Dogs that we work with that have hyperactive issues or reactivity issues, they're probably going to be getting this. They're going to be getting this in their training, right? Yeah. But, again, we have a lot of experience with dogs. We've seen a lot of dogs struggle with these things. We've helped them work through it. So that experience helps come down to the troubleshooting and resolution of this particular situation. So, but yeah, good. I think that's a good discussion on building up your dog's attention on you. Like Chris said, you can go to our YouTube channel. You can watch videos on us doing these eye contact drills, us doing eye contact and distraction, us doing engagement sessions, us doing, a variety of other drills. You'll see examples of dogs that have not had eye contact, build up, or eye contact drills or attention building, you'll see examples of dogs that do have that eye contact or attention building already done. But I will tell you, just doing the fundamentals, that's going to be huge for you and your dog. It's going to be huge. The benefits outweigh the cons, but the one con, paying too much attention, is easily overcome through a balanced training plan, right? One thing I see a lot of people get stuck on, right? People that are doing private lessons with us, or people that are just talking to us about training, they're not even working with us yet. They have a real hard time shifting their reinforcement schedules. So they're rewarding their dog a lot, which is great, but you've got to very carefully increase your criteria for behavior, decrease your rewards as time goes on. A lot of people struggle with that, right? Because there's different things that can happen with different dogs. You might need some different troubleshooting techniques helping to get rid of the food in your training, but that is most people's struggle. And that's why people, what they do is they stay on that reward every repetition too long.
Right.
Now the dog becomes reliant upon that, and then breaking away from the rewards but maintaining the behavior, very difficult without advanced troubleshooting techniques. So if you're in that boat, reach out to us. We'll be glad to help you troubleshoot and get through that. But you have to pay attention to that. You have to be conscious. You have to have your overall game plan in your head and know how you're going to slowly progress your dog to get to the next step and reduce your rewards in training. So just some thoughts.
Notice he said reduce, not remove. Right. We're not going into a world where there's no rewards.
Right.
The rewards are always still in the picture.
Right.
There's paychecks always for the dogs. Right. But you're not falling into a world where you have to bribe your dog.
Right.
Right. They want to pay attention to you.
Right.
They want to give you the focus because they know there are rewards involved, but it's not every single repetition.
Well, the other thing too is I see a lot of people struggle, like people that we work with our board and train programs. They're not rewarding.
Right. Oh, I can just correct my dog.
Right. They're correcting, which is fine. That's one way to help get some things done. But then you start seeing that attention span reduce.
Right.
Because there's no rewards at all.
Right.
So that's the other boat. If people are in one or two boats.
Yeah.
One, they reward too much and they can't stop. Two, they don't reward at all. They correct too much. Right.
Like,
so it's
just
balancing that out.
Just push them together. You got a complete dog.
But that's what we're here for. We're here to advise them and help guide them along their journey. So, but it does make a difference. So anyway, let us know what you guys think about that discussion. Let us know what questions you have. But before we wrap up here, of course, we're going to be talking about our affiliates. First of all, we've got Canine Revolution Dog Training, which if you need a board and train program, if you need a private lesson, if you need a virtual lesson, if you're a dog trainer and you need some counseling on clients or dogs you're working with, you can reach out to us. 843-213-2676. Email info@caninerevolutiondogtraining.com. We're happy to help you guys out. Also, big news coming up. Canine Revolution Dog Training is opening up a new location in Texas.
Oh, yeah.
Opening up in Texas.
Hot off the press.
Hot off the press, right? So especially for those that are in the western or central United States, which we have a lot of people driving from Texas to South Carolina to deliver dogs for board and trains and pick them up. We've got people that have driven from California to South Carolina, across the country. People that have driven from Washington State. We've had people just fly their dogs here, then we fly them back home.
We're cutting that distance in half for you.
What we're doing is we're helping you. We're helping you cut that distance in half and still providing support. So if you're in the western or central United States and you want to be supported through our Texas location that's opening up in later 2024, you can reach out now. You can start getting signed up. You can get on the schedule. And, we're just bringing the nation's premier dog training team to your doorstep, essentially, making it easy for you to get the training that you need. So let us know if you need support from those areas. Also, you know what they say?
What do they say?
Everything's bigger in Texas.
Is that what they say?
That's what they say. Everything's bigger in Texas. So.
That's because they ain't been to South Carolina.
Right. I mean, we will still have our headquarters in South Carolina.
Yeah.
But I'm going to have to make some trips out to Texas.
Well, yeah.
To make sure that make sure that everyone's being supported.
He might stumble across some barbecue joints.
I fall into barbecue. Oh, I didn't mean to be here. But you know what? When you're training dogs, you also have to do that restaurant distraction. So
it's for the dogs.
It's for the dogs.
And you do need to fuel your body.
You got to fuel your body. Yeah. Right? So it's one of those things we just got to do.
Yeah.
We just got to do.
We make big sacrifices around here.
Next up, we got Canine Revolution apparel. So if you want a Canine Revolution logo shirt, you want a Good to Go shirt, you want a guinea shirt, a chicken shirt, a hat, whatever, mugs, water bottles, all that.
It's almost beanie season.
Almost beanie season, hoodie season. Go to Canine Revolution apparel on Amazon and get some stuff for yourself. Support yourself, right? Or a friend. Right?
Christmas coming up,
or a
too.
sibling.
You know, maybe
Christmas
start
is coming
start
up. Good
bulk
gifts.
ordering some
Good
apparel.
gifts coming up. Also, we know winter's coming, so you want that hoodie, dude.
Winter
Those
is
hoodies
coming.
are nice.
Yeah,
I like the heavy hoodie.
yeah,
Good to Go hoodie.
yeah.
And that green color, that's my go-to.
Mm.
Right? That Canine
I
Revolution
need
logo.
to get a green one.
Good to Go, dude. That shit's banging.
Yeah.
That shit's banging. I can't wait for hoodie season.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
All right, next up we got We Feed Raw. Right? We know this is optimal food for your dog. Raw food specifically formulated for your dog. And I'm going to admit, I fucked up recently. I fucked up big time, dude. Quick story. I miscalculated my raw. Miscalculated my quantities. And so I realized I was going to be running out of raw before my next raw was delivered. I had about 3 to 4 days where I was like, dude, I'm going to be out of raw. So I was like, you know, so I emailed We Feed Raw. I was like, hey, is there any way to expedite this? They're like, okay, we got it going. It's going to be to you like still 4 days later. So I was like, holy shit. So I went down to the local food store. I got the highest quality kibble I could get. They had some raw there too. So I'm like, okay, I'll get this. Right. So I got some other raw, not We Feed Raw, some other off-brand raw. Right. I'm like, okay, I'll be squared away for 4 days. My dogs will make it through this. Right. So getting my dogs their food. First of all, I got 3 dogs. First of all, my old dog, Sarabi, 14 years old, she just went on a hunger strike. Refused to eat.
She said, "This ain't
like,
We Feed Raw."
She's like, "This is shit.
Yeah.
This is shit." Right? She refused to eat. My other 2 dogs, they were eating it, but dude, they had major issues.
Oh yeah.
Diarrhea.
Yeah.
They could not hold their potty anymore. My male, he just bladder unloaded everywhere in the house. Unloaded. He couldn't, like, I was gone. My wife is at the house, you know. He starts whining and he just boom, unloads everywhere. Bladder gone, dude. I'm like, holy shit, dude. Because I fucked up the delivery.
Now you're back on it?
So now we got it back on. So
everything's under control.
Everything's back to normal. Everything's back to normal.
So
we got
Robbie's
no
back
more
to
problems. The poops, their poops are back to good to go.
Yeah.
So Robbie's eating. She's pushing me for her meals.
Yeah.
You know, when it comes feeding time, like this morning. You know, I feed him usually around 7:30 or so. 7 o'clock, she's muzzle nudging my hand. She's pacing. She's pacing.
Next time you're better off just waiting the 4 days.
I was like, dude, that would suck.
She's hunger striking anyway.
Next time I'm just gonna cook them ground beef. And just give them that,
I've done that. I've definitely done that.
But holy cow, that was horrible.
Yeah.
So we're back on the We Feed Raw train. Everybody's good to go. Nobody's having any problems. So check it out. Go to WeFeedRaw.com. Discount code Canine Revolution, all caps, no spaces. That gives you 25% off your meal plan. You can cancel that meal plan at any time, but I guarantee you will see benefit from feeding your dog raw.
100%.
I feel bad for feeding my dogs kibble the amount of years I did. You know what I'm saying? So get on the raw train. You'll see a difference. You won't regret it. And yes, it is going to be more expensive, but you're feeding that optimal diet. And the crazy thing is, you know, I got my dogs that off-brand raw. It's raw formulated for dogs, just some other company.
Yeah.
Dude, shit didn't work. Shit was not good to go. That We Feed Raw is a whole new level, dude. Whole nother level.
Yeah.
So, lesson learned.
Well,
make sure you got your deliveries on schedule, bro.
Yeah. Keep you a little extra, you know?
Yeah.
Maybe buy you an extra box.
That's probably what I'm going to do.
Layer it in the freezer. Use it, you know, as it goes bad. Buy you next
I'm
box.
I'm going to get those, like I ordered that one time, the 5-pounders. You have to order 30 pounds at a time. So I got the 5. I'm going to just get some of those.
Because I was also thinking, we got hurricane season coming up too. Shipping get affected by that,
exactly,
you know? So it might not be bad to have a little bit of bulk in there.
Yeah. Keep those in the freezer.
Yeah.
Use them as you need to.
Right.
You know. All right, next up we got Canine Super Supplements, which I add this into my dog's raw, actually. But they've got the multivitamin. These are supplements for your dog. Multivitamin for your dog's immunity support. They've got the weight gainer if you got a dog that has high metabolism or struggling to gain weight. You give them that weight gainer, you will see improvements. We do that a lot with dogs that we're training. they're struggling to gain weight, or they're struggling to keep up with their weight, even if you increase their food, which we feed the dogs on the board and train the food their owners are feeding them. You know, we can't convince everyone to get on the raw, so they're feeding kibble. So we're talking about lower quality calories. We add that weight gainer in, that's getting that powdered raw in there, higher quality calories. We're seeing improvements, right? They've also got the joint support, which is formulated for your dog's joints and cartilage. Then we got that puppy formula, which is just kind of like an all-encompassing everything. Formulated for puppies, but also good for adults.
Which is good.
Yeah, so I got my dogs on the multivitamin, the puppy formula, and the joint support once a day. Put the scoops in there raw. They you know, I put a little bit of water in there with the powder.
I don't even do that these days.
Really?
Straight scoop the powder. They go to town. Dry.
But let's say you can't feed raw. This is something you can add in to get your dogs that extra element of nutrition.
Yep.
If you're feeding raw, this is just going to support that raw even more and get more nutrients to your dog. 100% good to go. 100% made in America, right? So go to K9, the letter K, number 9, supersupplements.com, discount code K9 Revolution, all caps, no spaces, 15% off. Good to go. Good to go, 100%. Only supplements I'll use.
Yeah.
100%. All right, last but not least, we've got JockoFuel. Now, let me tell you something.
Oh, yeah, here we go. Come on, tell us.
We're in South Carolina right now. It's currently summertime. I don't know when you guys are listening to this, but it's currently summertime when we are recording this. And I've increased my calories personally. I'm now in a muscle building phase. And I've been doing some heavy lifting in the gym, increasing strength.
A couple pounds at a time, you know.
Yeah. So I'm freaking sweating.
Yeah.
I'm freaking working outside.
To be fair, though, you sweat sitting on your ass.
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I sweat sitting on my ass. I sweat standing up. I sweat in general. So that's what I'm saying. I got that Jocko Hydrate, which I got one here with me right now.
Mm-hmm.
It's basically Gatorade, but way better for you.
It's not even basically Gatorade.
Well, dude,
you shouldn't even put them in the same.
Let me tell you this, because you were there.
I was there.
We did the Hallie Hill swim.
Yeah.
It's a 3+ mile swim.
Yeah.
Fundraising for Hallie Hill Animal Sanctuary, which is located in Charleston, South Carolina. And, you know, animal sanctuaries, to me, big deal.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why we support them. But anyway, we do the swim. After the swim, they got I'm dying. You know, like
he was.
tanked.
Can confirm.
Yeah, Chris was my lap counter.
Yeah.
Which he actually counted my laps wrong one time.
That's made up.
I did 2 extra laps because he miscounted my
I was the
laps,
best, most focused lap counter there. I don't want to hear it.
But anyway, so we finished the swim. I'm dying. I'm like, I need Gatorade. I need like that electrolyte.
Right.
So I go get a Gatorade out of the cooler that
you
they
got
had.
your electrolytes, all right.
I drank it. I didn't feel good.
Yeah.
It made my stomach feel weird. It made me feel weird. I'm like, dude, we need the Jocko Hydrate, bro.
Mm-hmm.
So I went home. I got a Jocko Hydrate, and that replenished me.
Yeah.
I was good to go after that. There might have been Cracker Barrel on the way home, too.
Definitely
but
was.
The Jocko Hydrate got me over that line. But, I mean, recently I've been sweating my ass off, dude. Working hard, lifting hard, doing things. You know, loading up the truck for the move to Texas. You know, I did that the other day. Sweating my ass off.
Mm.
And the hydrates, they're keeping me good to go.
Dude.
I had to have 2 the other day in the same day.
I've done that
But
many
it's like,
days.
Literally, if I drink Gatorade, it makes me feel bad.
Not good.
I drink the hydrate, it makes me feel good. And that's just telling me how good the quality is.
Your body's communicating with you,
Right,
telling you everything
exactly.
you need to know.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
It's good stuff.
Yeah,
they even
so-
have the powdered hydrate. I
the
like
powder
those
hydrates.
maybe better than these.
Really? I
Yeah.
like the drinkable ones better.
I don't.
I throw the powders in like my shaker cup. I'll
Yeah.
shake it, but when I drink these, I literally feel replenished.
No, I like the powders better.
Do you?
Yeah.
Well, you got both options.
You got-
JockoFuel.com.
I mean,
Both
you might,
options.
you might be like me. You like the powders. You might
Yeah.
be like Chad. You like the drink. You got
There
you got both.
You got options. You got both of them.
Yeah.
Plus, me, I kind of like drinking something when I'm driving.
Mm-hmm.
And if it's later in the day, I'm not going to have a go. I'm not going to
Oh,
have
I
that
can.
caffeine.
That's if I'm driving. That's what I'm. That's
well,
where
see,
I'm.
I limit myself to a go before 2 p.m. If it's after 2 p.m., not having it.
Oh no.
That way I can go to bed on time.
I
Because
that
shit gets me. I'm
as long as I do
amped.
it before 5, I'm usually
5
pretty
for
good.
you?
Yeah, it's
Holy
only
shit.
100.
What time you going to bed?
I mean, I'm going to bed 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock.
Oh, okay.
No later than 10.
Yeah,
Definitely not.
9 o'clock's my
That's
cutoff.
like my off day is at 10
Yeah,
p.m.
My off day's at 10.
Yeah.
10 p.m. But anyway, in the afternoon for me, I'll drink that hydrate if I want something to drink and sip on the way.
Yeah.
No biggie.
It's good.
But JockoFuel's got what you need. They got the Go energy drinks. They got the hydrate drinks and powder. They've got the Brain Fuel, which is basically a go in a capsule form if you need that quick hitter.
Yeah.
Right? They got the burner. They got the fish oil. They got the milk protein, which we all need protein. We all need protein. Super important. Your body cannot store protein. Your body needs protein to develop, to build, to repair itself.
Mm-hmm.
If you have an injury, whatever that is, your body needs protein. If you have muscle, we all have muscle. We all need muscle.
Oh,
your body needs protein to build on that, right? And as you get older, your body struggles to build new muscle or maintain, so you got to support it with that protein and heavy lifting. Let's just say that. Heavy lifting definitely necessary. So anyway, JockoFuel.com. Discount code Canine Revolution, all caps, no spaces, 10% off your order. You won't regret it. You won't regret it. Trust me.
That's a big discount.
Big discount, dude. Big discount. Heck yeah. I mean, I won't drink Gatorade anymore. I'm done. Done with Gatorade. I tried it that one time at the swim. It makes me feel bad.
You know, even recently after that swim, my mom had it or something, but it was one of those. It's the higher quality Gatorade.
Gatorade Light.
Yeah.
You had it?
Yeah. Still garbage.
Yeah.
Still garbage.
Makes you feel bad.
Yeah.
Makes you feel bad.
Yeah.
Because also I think that artificial sweeteners, they make me feel bad.
Oh yeah.
My stomach. So.
Well, just look at the sugar on the back of that thing. Is insane.
The sugar's crazy.
Yeah.
Anyway, moving on here. Make sure you check out the Pack Talk Podcast YouTube channel for video versions of the podcast. Check out the Canine Revolution Dog Training YouTube channel for dog training educational videos. Things we've talked about in the podcast, you'll see in video form on the YouTube channel. Again, let us know if you have feedback. Let us know if you need anything. Canine Revolution Dog Training, Pack Talk Podcast. We appreciate you listening. We appreciate your support. And until next time, this is Pack Talk Podcast.